Hello, chess friends, and welcome to your Out of Chess channel, and welcome to another spectacular game from the little computer chess world that we love, of course, to follow. Welcome to amazing gameplay by the most powerful chess engine in the world by Stockfish 17 against another top engine, Torch, in a crazy short variation of the Caro-Kann Defense. And this game that I'll show you actually was played on the Computer Chess Championship on chess.com. It was actually a testing match, a 3+2 testing match, so it's not maybe an important game that you see now. It didn't have any important outcome, but I think it's very instructive one. It's very cool one with incredible tactical shots in the middle game stage. So put your seatbelts and enjoy again in a crazy game played by two powerful chess engines from the AI chess world. So with white, the fish opened with the move e4. The torch response was c6, the Caro-Kann, d4, d5, and after move e5, we have now the so-called advanced variation. The position in the center is blocked. The position is a little bit static in the center, so nothing spectacular can happen, at least in the early stage of the game. So now comes, of course, bishop to f5. The bishop is supposed to get out the outside of the pawn chain, and then you want to lock the center with the move e6. Stockfish plays the short variation with the move knight to f3, and now comes the standard idea e6 and bishop to e2, and now c5. Of course, black is trying to do something on this side of the board, wants, of course, to do some pressure against the d4 pawn with the support of the bishop, with the support of the queen. Now the d4 is an obvious target of black's attack. Now Stockfish simply cements the position with the move c3, knight to c6, bishop to e3, and now the last move that was prearranged by the organizer was now the move c4. And you see now the position in the center is now completely blocked. And what that means is that immediately we know the direction of the attack. I've mentioned many times, so white's direction of the attack is on this side of the board, and black's direction of the attack is on this side of the board. When it comes to evaluation of minor pieces, I think in these block positions, the knights are at least now equal to bishops, so the knights are very good in these block positions. And when we evaluate now the bishop strength, now the dark bishop of white is maybe not such a good piece because there are many pawns on dark squares, and also black's light square bishop is a little bit somehow too connected to the pawns. You want, of course, to have your pawns on the opposite color squares that the bishop is covering. So now there are a couple of, I would say, problems for both sides. Although it's very important, I think, and it's the most important thing here to mention, is that the move c4 is, I think, a positional inaccuracy. You should keep the tension here after move bishop to e3 with the potential queen to b6 move. You have to put more pressure here. You have to put more pressure there. When you play c4, I think the attack is a little bit splashed now on this side of the board. You could have maybe b5, b4 and similar stuff, but white is also attacking this side of the board, so c4 I think was a little bit rushed here by black. But as I said, this was the prearranged move by the organizer. In the reverse game, Stockfish managed to squeeze a draw out of this position. So let's see now how Torch played this position with black. So here Stockfish castles. We have now knight to e7, and now comes a very powerful idea, the move b3. The idea about this move is to somehow get rid of the main advantage that black has, and the main advantage that black has is now the space advantage on the queen side. Every other segment of the game, I think, belongs to white. Every other aspect, I think, is simply in white's favor. b3 is now breaking the position, and the issue is that you cannot even compete with the move b5 here. You would love to make progress further, as we mentioned, with b5, but then a potential a4 and a6 leads now into this position where b4 and a5 is going to happen. And when the position is completely blocked on the queen side, I think white doesn't have to worry anything about anymore on the queen side. So the position is basically solved there on that side of the board. Now white will create enormous pressure on this side of the board with the support of the bishops, with the support of the knight. It's, I think, a one-way ticket, because white still has the flexibility to do something on the king side while the queen side is completely blocked now, and black loses the main advantage. Okay, maybe black has here still this advanced pawn, but you cannot open anymore the files. Even if you try to take, then you leave yourself an isolated a pawn. So it's simply not working. So that's why for move b3, that's the issue about the move c4. With the move b3, the position gets already cracked for black. After move c takes b3, a takes b3, now black is, I think, losing also the space advantage on the queen side, and now in some lines white can also make progress with potential c4 move. White has really now enormous pressure, I think, on both sides of the board. And surprisingly, this position has been played. I see one game in the database between Eugenio Torre against Peter Long. Eugenio Torre, of course, very respected grandmaster. He has also a great repertoire, has also great openings named by him. So here you see black doesn't have so many chances. Here in the game, h6 was towards continuation, trying of course to create some spaces for the bishop, and finally what you are trying to do is to get the knight out and then also to get the bishop out, but it's a long run. Meanwhile, of course, white is doing something here. In the continuation of the game, Stockfish plays a powerful knight to e1 with the preparation to play f4, g4, h4 if it's possible, but as I said, we are simply attacking still the king side because we have this direction of the attack, and you don't wait any more seconds here. You just continue to push on the side where you're better. We have now bishop to h7, f4, rook to c8, targets of course the c3 weakness, but it's again nothing spectacular. Stockfish continues now with a calm bishop to f2, and now a g3, keeping everything glued together, everything compact here. Look at this. Here Stockfish has a great pyramid and is waiting now maybe with moves like h4 and h5, g4. Still white has a flexible position on the king side. a6, now comes this move knight to g2, knight to e7, and now h4, g5 here by Torch, and Stockfish plays a beautiful h5, simply passes through. The issue for black is here that black cannot play g takes f4. It is possible, it could be played, and it seems so that it solves maybe some tactical problems, because then after knight to f4 you could maybe try on rook to g8 to attack the king through the g file. But after king to h2, knight to f5, look at this. White continues simple with the normal bishop to d3, bishop to g7, queen to e2, and then in one moment when g4 is happening, I think black is running out of good moves. Even if you try, I don't know, instead of rook to g8, if you maybe want to have still your right to castle, if you want to maybe in some lines to castle on the king side, if you try maybe knight to f5, nothing dramatically changes. g4 is going to happen anyway. You're trying to do something like this, okay, it seems a little bit risky, but now for knight to h3 you step back now also from the g file, and in one moment, look at this, if you play bishop to e7, the knight will be taken. If you step back to e7, bishop is again blocked. We'll play simply rook to g1. In some lines, I think also g5 is working. Normal plans are also knight to d2, maybe then b4, knight to b3, knight to c5, knight to f3. Plenty options, I think, here for white, while black is simply cramped. Black doesn't have anything anymore in this game. So here after move h5, that's why bishop to g7 here by Torch, trying maybe still to secure the king by castle. Stockfish continues with the bishop to d3, Torch takes, and of course Stockfish takes. Now we have f6, e takes f6, bishop to f6, and now knight to d2, simply bringing now a new piece into the game. Castling, knight to f3, queen to c7, and now rook to a2, with the idea to place the rook here on e2. Really nice tiny little improvement of the position here by white, because obviously there is one tiny little weakness maybe in white's position. It's this pawn on c3, which is so far indirectly attacked by black, but that's why rook to a2 is great, because we'll get the rook here on e2. We're still attacking the e6 pawn, and still you have this square for the dark bishop to protect your pawn on c3. Great maneuvers here by Stockfish. Knight to d8, now comes this idea, bishop to e1, knight to f7, and now rook to e2. Queen to d7, queen to e3, hitting now the pawn on e6, queen to b5, here by Torch. Great counterattack by black, because you cannot take the pawn immediately. here on e6, torch setup here, a nice trap against Stockfish. It's not like white is losing here, but I think with queen to e6, white loses completely the advantage in the game. Look at this, now rook to c6, you have to step back because you still have to keep your queen connected to the rook, and now knight to f5 simply kicks away the queen, and now you play just the calm rook to c3, deflecting now the queen from the rook, and now black gets the pawn back. Suddenly black has the initiative, suddenly black has a much better position. I would love, of course, more to play now this game from black's perspective. So that's why after queen to b5, Stockfish, of course, didn't fall for this, didn't go for the pawn, play the calm g4, simply continue to push now here on this side of the board. G4 is really great because it allows here torch to take the pawn on b3, but Stockfish is not counting material anymore. With the move g4, Stockfish prepared here really a spectacular and amazing tactical sequence. So put your seatbelts on and look how crazy now the game becomes. So Stockfish says, you took a pawn, but now it's my time to attack. Stockfish first of all plays f takes g5, which makes black here react. So that's what I liked about the sequence. Now everything's pretty much forced. You don't have any more escape routes here for black. So after bishop to g5, now queen to e6 is working. We have now rook to c6, the line, a similar line that we have seen previously. Now the queen gets attacked, and it seems so that something went wrong, but Stockfish with the move f takes g5 decoyed now the bishop there. Stockfish takes now, knight takes g5, gives up now the queen for the rook and a minor piece, and still has a great attack against the rook on f8. Beautiful tactical sequence. Black has to step back. Stockfish doubles up now on the f file. The king is hanging. We have now knight to g5. Stockfish delivers a new check. You have to take new check. You have to step back, and now a beautiful knight takes g5, h takes g5, check. And now if you step back like torch it, now look at this, Stockfish grabbed another piece, and now Stockfish has the rook and two minor pieces as a compensation for the queen. It's not a compensation, it's a much better position, of course. Here, if white plays now the game correctly, this should be completely winning endgame here for Stockfish. So the good part about this tactical sequence is also that everything is still intact, everything is compact. Look at this, the knight is protecting the bishop, the rook is protecting the bishop is protecting the pawn, the king is not endangered because actually there is a knight in front of the king, and the knight is the best defensive piece in front of the king when the queen is attacking. So here torch is of course trying queen to d1, hitting this pawn, but Stockfish grabs now this one, torch grabs also this one, Stockfish attacks now this pawn, which is very important because this is now the only chance for black to do anything in the game, to do something with this pass pawn. That's why here queen to e2, played by torch, but now Stockfish goes for the check, new check, takes out now this pawn, torch pushes now the pawn further, bishop to g3, and now a4. And even if you try, I don't know, moves like king to h7 to get the king closer, it's still not working because of bishop to e5. You have only this chance maybe to deliver check. We step back. Now there is no good check that's possible. You maybe push the pawn, but I wanted to show you how crazy also this position is. There are a couple of checkmate patterns that could happen here. Look at this, after a3 you deliver check. For instance, if the king goes here, then the rook goes behind. If you go maybe with queen to b3 to support further your pawn, then there is this problem in one line that I've analyzed at home. For instance, you can get this kind of a checkmate. So even I wanted to point out that even moves like king to h7 are not working here, because in one moment the king will march somewhere here, will get its security, and then when the three pieces are dancing in front of black's king, there are, as I said, several checkmate patterns that white can create. So after bishop to g3, that's why a4 immediately by torch, but now Stockfish delivers new check, and now new check. If you play king to h5, then look at this, knight to f4. It's not the point that we want to take the queen, it's actually a checkmate, again with bishop to f6. That's the beauty. Again, a different kind of a pattern, but with the same problem again. Black lost simply the game with this beautiful piece activity by white. So that's why for rook to g6, torch was forced to step back to h7, but now again the knight gets included into the attack, and again we have this perfect dependency of white pieces. The bishop is protecting the knight is protecting the rook, the knight is protecting the pawn is protecting the rook, the bishop is supported. Look at this, everything is so glued together, so compact. Queen to e3, desperate tries of course here by Torch. a3, knight to e6, queen to e4 check, king to g3, and if you try now maybe here the move a2, then look at this, knight to g5 is also a beautiful checkmate pattern. Look at this, in this scenario it's again game over. So that's why for king to g3, queen takes g6, Torch tried this one, Stockfish takes, you have to now play king takes g6, but now knight to c5, very important move. Knight to b3 will happen, and this pawn can be called, and of course it's game over here for black. So here Storch tried to battle, Stockfish went like this, pushed simply now the pawn further with the move c4, and after move d5 the game was over. Surprisingly, this game that I show you now is evaluated as a losing game for Stockfish because the game was disconnected, but this was, as I said, a testing game. It's not important for any outcome in all of the other finals that Torch and Stockfish played, the Blitz, Bullet, Rapid chess championships that we have followed. Stockfish always destroyed Torch. I wanted to just show you this game because I think it was very cool. It was very important to recognize this bad c4 move for black in the beginning, this beautiful tactical sequence that Stockfish created, very nice checkmate patterns. I think it's very cool game that had everything that we love to see in a spectacular chess game. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. If you want to see similar games like this with epic tactical shots with beautiful ideas, check out my commented chess games played by computer series here on my YouTube chess channel. Here's the link to the playlist, and if you like this content, hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.